Welcome to 8 out of 10 Cats, a show about opinion polls, surveys and statistics. Did you know, for example, 1 in 12 school children don't know who's on top of Nelson's column? The clue is in the name, Trevor Nelson. 32% of old people don't want to live. Tell you what, old people, you're in luck. Did you know, for example, 13% of British men are superstitious? Ooh, 13, unlucky. 55% of women in the northeast have used a sex toy. They are thinking about giving it a rinse before they lend it to the northwest. Did you know, for example, 89% of 11-year-olds have mobile phones? Doesn't surprise me, one of the little bastards has got mine. Apparently, we use only 2% of the English language available in everyday conversation. I find that statistic utterly impericatobulous. And on average, the human brain can only remember 4 things at any one time. Keys, wallet, bags, phone. Who am I? Did you know, for example, 18% of Brits prefer gardening to spending intimate time with their partner? I say, give me a pair of gloves and a bottle of Miracle Grow, and I'm ready for either. 1 in 3 adults believe in angels, and to those people I say, would you like to buy some magic beans? Did you know, for example, a staggering 315 entries in America's Wexford Dictionary are misspelled? What a bunch of wuckfits. 2% of British women describe themselves as sexy. Yeah, it's about right. 13% of men have spent a night in jail. Coincidentally, 13% of men have been made love to on a bunk bed to the sound of a harmonica. Did you know, for example, 1 in 20 people think that Conan the Barbarian is a real character? Does Professor Dumbledore not teach them anything? 1 in 10 women in the UK has a sexually transmitted disease. I like those odds. And 1 in 5 drivers don't understand road signs. This means you've cut me up. Did you know, for example, 20% of Manchester's inner-city school kids have witnessed a violent crime? 80% ain't saying nothing till they've seen their brief. 1/3 of husbands would let their wives sleep with another man for £1 million. £1 million? For half that, I'll put on a wig and do it myself. 13% of Americans believe some parts of the moon are actually made of cheese. If you think that's scary, you don't want to know what President Bush thinks about the city of Philadelphia. Did you know, for example, 20% of people marry their first love? What, they've got Lego wives? Every day in Britain, 6 newborn babies are given to the wrong parents. I wasn't swapped at birth, and neither was my identical twin, Wong Chao Li. The reason half of all relationships break up is bad sex. My relationship broke up because of good sex with someone else. This is interesting. The Bible is the world's most shoplifted book. To be fair, how are you meant to know you shouldn't steal it before you've read it? 14% of bosses think it's acceptable for potential employees to lie on their CVs. If Channel 4 bosses are watching this, I haven't got a GCSE in French, suckers. And the average marriage lasts 11 years. I imagine there are a few people at home right now thinking, yes, I'm out in 2. Did you know, for example, if you were to count up every hot dog sold outside football grounds in Britain on a Saturday, chances are your nickname's Rain Man. 40,000 Americans are injured in the toilet every year. Most accidents are from people slipping on a wet floor. Just goes to show you've got to look out for number 1. Half of all the people who have ever smoked have now stopped. Sounds good, but when I say stopped, a lot of them have died. Did you know, for example, the average person is capable of making more than 1,000 facial expressions? And this is the one I made when I heard that statistic. KFC is the most popular fast food restaurant in China. You would have thought it would have been a Chinese. 55% of men wash their hands after going to the loo. What I do, and here's a tip for you, is I wash my winky in the morning and then I'm good for the rest of the day. Did you know, for example, snails can sleep for 3 years without eating? Of course, at the end of it, they are dead. 200 babies are born worldwide every minute, so if you've just had a baby, whatever, you have a 1 in 10 million chance of being killed by a champagne cork. Good news, let's celebrate. Did you know, for example, 14% of cat owners think their cat is more important than their job. And the thing is, if they think that, they're probably right. Most deaths in hospitals are between the hours of 3 and 4 in the afternoon. All I'm saying is, it's only a countdown conundrum. Don't have a stroke about it. And the average man will spend 2,965 hours shaving during his lifetime. It's the bit round the balls that takes the time. Did you know, for example, there will be an estimated 1.6 billion people in India by the year 2050? Good news if you're trying to get hold of directory inquiries. Half of Britain's school children don't know where ham comes from. Birmingham? And 40% of women never play any sport, despite the fact they're told in numerous adverts they can swim, cycle and roller skate with a Dalmatian once a month. Did you know, for example, koalas are asleep 80% of the time? So keep it down. 91% of people over 60 think we show less respect for each other than we did in the past. Silly old fuckers. And a single kiss can contain 40,000 parasites, 250 types of bacteria, and up to 0.45 grams of fat. A French kiss is the same, but it can also contain dog shit and garlic. Did you know, for example, researchers say 65% of men are happy to have sex on a first date? Happy? We're high-fiving strangers on the night bus. The richest man in the world, the Sultan of Brunei, has 257 lavatories in his personal palace. Must be all that foreign food. And the scent of a human footprint is so strong that even humans can follow it. Although, to be fair, they can see it. It's a footprint. Did you know, for example, 16% of men use their uniform to impress women? Yes, I work in a toll booth. 39% of Geordies exceed the recommended daily allowance for alcohol. Turns out it's not an accent, they're just pissed. Did you know, for example, research says you have a 1 in 3.5 million chance of being killed by a snake bite, and that figure rises significantly if you're allergic to cider. A snail can travel over a razor blade without cutting itself, or to put it another way, sometimes scientists get bored. The average man uses 38 sheets of toilet paper every day. The average woman uses almost twice that much, which is fair enough. Women have 2 bottoms. Did you know, for example, an American man called Charles Osborne has had the hiccups for the past 19 years? If you're watching, Charles, boo! The lenses in your eyes continue to grow throughout your life, which explains why old ladies are so good at word searches. 90% of women would prefer a man to be chivalrous rather than politically correct. That's why, when some slag is slinging a rook, I always open the door. Did you know, for example, the average person thinks that 49 is the age when we stop being young? Leah from Big Brother has a lot to pack into the next 6 months. Unattractive people earn 13% less than beautiful people, and that's based on a survey of supermodels and dinner ladies. And 95% of creatures on Earth are smaller than a chicken's egg. So when I think about it, I've actually got quite a big cock. Did you know, for example, there are enough cows in the world to make 7,000 Big Macs for every American? We're going to need more cows. Glaciers cover 11% of the Earth's surface. Sorry, 10%. Sorry, 9%. Goodbye, Stanglia. And eating carrots every day dramatically reduces your chances of having a stroke, unless you're a rabbit. Did you know, for example, last year British women spent £280 million removing unwanted body hair? Surely it'd be cheaper and easier just to move to Germany. And 54% of taxi drivers think we shouldn't join the euro. We didn't conduct a survey, they just told us that. Did you know, for example, scientists say the elephant is the only mammal that can't jump? What, Stephen Hawking isn't a mammal? Only a quarter of Brits consider themselves to be lucky, and they're the lucky ones. A cockroach can live for a whole week without a head. Beat that, Heather Mills. Did you know, for example, a giraffe can clean its own ears with its 21-inch long tongue, although Mrs. Giraffe has got other plans for this evening. 3% of Brits never leave a tip, and they're known as the weirdos that live at the tip. That was less like a laugh, that was more like a rumour going around the room. Have you heard about the people at the tip? And you've got a 1 in 20,000 chance of being murdered in the UK. We don't know what the figure is for Iraq. We sent a guy over there to do the survey, and he hasn't come back. Did you know, for example, the average British male has sex 2,580 times during their life? Statistically, that means I'm going to live until I'm 197. 69% of Americans believe they will go somewhere after death. Well, certainly, we're going to lift them off the toilet. And an octopus has 3 hearts, so when octopus couples are having difficulties, they get together for a heart-to-heart-to-heart-to-heart-to-heart. Did you know, for example, there are around 44 million bubbles in a bottle of champagne, and that statistic is brought to you by a scientist who was stood up on a date. In 2005, it was made illegal to keep goldfish in goldfish bowls in Italy. So, that's goldfish sorted. Now, organised crime. And the average woman will tell 28,000 lies in her lifetime. I don't know what my girlfriend would make of that. She's out with an old school friend tonight. Apparently, she might have to stay over. Did you know, for example, a quarter of people don't know what kidneys do? They make steak pies delicious. 1 in 3 pet owners has made an unplanned visit to the vet in the past 2 years. I don't know, it's just a whim, put him down. And 1 in 10 housewives plan ahead when it comes to evening meals. They plan to eat oysters under the stars with a Brazilian tango instructor. And then they sigh, take another swig of gin and put the fish fingers on. Did you know, for example, 60% of cosmetic surgery patients are disappointed with the results, although they look pleasantly surprised? A quarter of the over 50s are failing to save. It's Control S, you old buffers. While abroad, 2/3 of Brits are more sexually adventurous. So, look out, Iraq. And 1 in 4 Brits claims that their post has been lost or stolen. Well, I can reassure you, it was definitely stolen. Did you know, for example, David Beckham is the only English player to have scored in 3 World Cups, with 2 personal assistants and a hairdresser. The largest consumer of fortune cookies in Europe is Greece. Tomorrow you will eat hummus and have a hairy wife. And inbreeding causes 3 out of every 10 Dalmatian dogs to go deaf in Disney's bleakest ever Christmas film. Did you know, for example, the highest speed ever achieved on a bicycle was 166.94 miles per hour? It was recorded at a level crossing. Because the train hit the man. 18% of men check their tyre pressure every week. Yeah, that seems fine. The average age of naturists is 55. Sorry, that should read, sadly, the average age of naturists is 55. Did you know, for example, Britain consumes over 400 polo mints every second, but Britain's mum still knows Britain's been smoking. 5% of Britain's toddlers are obese, and they're known as waddlers. Almost half of all men lie to their partners about their looks to keep them happy. I do. I tell her, I'm dead good looking. I don't know what's the matter with your eyes. Did you know, for example, only 4 stuntmen have ever died during the making of a film? It was Love Actually, and they took their own lives. 31% of Britons have bathroom scales but never use them, which is a shame because bathroom scales can be a very good way to test if you're obese, especially if you're using them to weigh butter. And British men spend on average 22 minutes on foreplay. Of course, that is spread out between all of us over the course of a year. Did you know, for example, it takes 6,000 gallons of paint, 60 people and 4 months to paint the Eiffel Tower? Why don't they just take a photo? Scottish men are the biggest gamblers in the UK. Can my heart take another battered sausage? I'll chance it. Did you know, for example, the minimum pay for a prisoner in a British jail is £4 per week? They say crime doesn't pay, but it does. £4 a week. Did you know, for example, 1 in 4 people think that using an electric toothbrush is lazy? Yeah, what's wrong with traditional foreplay? 62% of Scots spend more than 30 minutes on the phone every day. Hello, it's me again. I'm having another heart attack. And a plastic bag in a landfill site takes 1,000 years to rot away. So, in a sense, it is a bag for life. Take that, M&S. Did you know, for example, 3% of people have answered their mobile phone while making love? Sorry, can't talk now, just going into a tunnel. 50% of the British population are dieting at any one time. Sadly, not lunchtime. And, according to estimates, Google's index contains as many as 25 billion web pages. I don't want to worry anyone, but I've just pressed print all. Did you know, for example, 8% of women say they've never worn the most expensive thing they've bought? That's because it's a dishwasher. 43% of Brits would like to use alternative energy sources. I've just bought a wind turbine. Now I just need somewhere to plug it in. And 21% of women will not make love with the lights on. Problem is, they come on automatically when I open the car door. Did you know, for example, after school, 33% of teenagers go back to an empty house. Break a window, steal a DVD player, and then go home. The longest time spent in space is 803 days, and that's a record set by the moon. And 1 in 3 Scottish girls is clinically obese, as are the other 2. Did you know, for example, being overweight almost triples your chances of dementia? Which reminds me, where did I put my chips? And 19% of Brits change their favourite film depending on who they're talking to. I'd have to say Anal Graveyard 2, and you, Archbishop? Did you know, for example, 56% of Londoners believe that their lungs are healthy for their age, that age being the early 21st century, just before the planet dies. 60% of Spaniards say British tourists are drunk and abusive whilst on holiday. If you're watching, fuck off, Pedro. 28% of Germany's prison population is foreign, but that figure has dropped since the 1940s. And 52% of women in their 40s are married. The rest of them have failed. Did you know, for example, 1 in 10 Europeans is now conceived on an IKEA bed, and for similar reasons, I'm no longer welcome at the Croydon branch of DFS. 26% of New Yorkers have herpes. If you can catch it there, you can catch it anywhere. And 62% of people think that being single gives them the chance to be more spontaneous. I've got no plans tonight, so should I sob myself to sleep or comfort eat? Did you know, for example, on average, in the Northern Hemisphere, January is the coldest month of the year. However, if you were in Australia, you'd be surrounded by twats. 30% of us refuse to sit on a public toilet seat, which is perhaps why there's shit all over the floor. And the longest kiss on record lasted 130 hours. I'd like to see 2 beautiful women try and beat that. Did you know, for example, 37% of bingo winners don't tell their other halves about their windfall, and that's because their husbands are dead. 57% of British school kids think that Germany is the most boring country in Europe, which is a good thing. We had interesting Germany. Did you know, for example, there are 759 pubs in Britain called the Red Lion? My favourite is the Red Lion. 1/8 of all liposuction patients are now in a bin round the back of the hospital. And in Sweden, an average of 10 car crashes a day involve the death of a moose, which is why the Swedes are such a good-looking race. Did you know, for example, 46% of women spend over an hour a day gossiping? At least that's what Judy at the Royal Association of Statisticians told Marlene at the National Audit Office. And the average person loses 50% of their taste buds by the time they're 60, so it is OK for your nana to live on cat food. Did you know, for example, an iguana can stay underwater for 28 minutes, or longer if you don't mind it dying? Per square inch of head, people with red hair have 750 fewer friends than other people. Forgot we had one in. Did you know, for example, Women who read romance novels have twice as much sex as the national average. While I say sex, they yield the precious softness of their silken female innocence to the crushing firmness of his intent. 90% of all teenagers suffer from acne, which is a good thing. Think how high teenage pregnancies would be if some of them didn't look like pizzas. And the average woman has 17 square feet of skin. Most of Danny Minogue's is in a bulldog clip round the back of her head. Did you know, for example, 34% of men think their personality is their best feature? Hello, 34% of men. 72% of British women are in love right now. What can I say? I've had my hair done. They're only human. And 17% of men can't change a light bulb. 83% of us won't change a light bulb. Either way, you're doing it. Did you know, for example, 32% of women believe it's possible to communicate with the dead? So don't bother trying to kill yourself, she'll still be rabbiting on. In the UK, trousers cause twice as many accidents as chainsaws, which is true. I've had a lot of accidents in my trousers. A female mackerel lays 500,000 eggs at any one time. Slag. And 9% of cat owners claim their cat had a say in their choice of partner, and that choice of partner was not to have one. Did you know, for example, Italians drink 14 billion espressos every year? It's amazing they're as lazy as they are. A hedgehog's heart beats 300 times a minute. Is there a car coming? Is there a car coming? Shit, there's a car coming. And 18% of men admit not noticing if a girl changes her hairstyle. I should explain to those men that a girl's hair is part of the blur above where her breasts are. Did you know, for example, if you stroke a cat 70 million times, you develop enough static electricity to light a 60-watt bulb? It also explains Susan Boyle's hair. 31% of taxi drivers don't take a break whilst at work. You'd think that'd make them cranky and opinionated. And a teaspoon contains 120 drops of water. That's according to research by Professor, probably, from the University of... Yeah, I reckon. Did you know, for example, American research has suggested that all Englishmen are oppressed and uptight? When I read that, I was angry and upset, but I managed to hide it. There is a stereotype that suggests the most common crime in Wales is sheep shagging. Not the case. It's actually ram raiding. Newcastle is the only major city in the UK without a red light district, and I'll tell you why. No need. And if you're watching in Norfolk, hello. I'm not being patronising, I just thought I'd show you what a normal hand looks like. Did you know, for example, Brits consume more than half of all the crisps eaten in the EU, and then when the EU isn't looking, we eat the rest of them. Pound for pound, the tongue is the strongest muscle in the body, is a terrible chat-up line. But it works. 25% of people have found romance in a pub. I'm not sure romance is exactly the right word in that context. I don't know many Barbara Cartland books that end, and then he did me in the gents with a curry-flavoured condom. And 9% of people regard their work as meaningless. Right, let's get on with this celebrity panel show about opinion poll surveys and statistics. Did you know, for example, people in Sheffield have the most fillings and missing teeth in Britain? Finally, something to go on that Welcome to Sheffield poster. 34% of the under-30s don't know how to wire a plug. It's easy. Dad, how'd you wire a plug? 7% of men say they've taken credit for work they didn't do, and that's according to a poll I conducted myself earlier today. And 60% of teenagers say they only go to church for weddings and christenings and claim they don't know nothing about no lead or no roof. Did you know, for example, there are 336 dimples on a regulation golf ball, which is why they're so adorable? The biggest participation sport in the world is fishing. Of course, a lot of the participants are fish, and they're not happy about it. Chinese gymnast Lu Li is the smallest person ever to compete in the Olympic Games. Lu Li was just 4'3" tall. Wow-wee. Was the second smallest. Did you know, for example, 27% of UK adults have taken illegal drugs? I took some illegal drugs once. It was just paracetamol, but I nicked them from Boots. 1% of British women have paid for sex. I charge £1 a minute. And let me tell you, ladies, after a night with me, you'd be lucky to get any change at all out of that £2 coin. And on average, men spend 20 minutes in the bathroom every day, and women spend 27 minutes in the bathroom every day, but not directly after a man spent 20 minutes in there. Did you know, for example, the average sofa will witness 300 arguments, over 1,000 cuddles and 1,500 spillages? An argument that leads to a cuddle that leads to a spillage. That is a great Saturday night in. Only 20% of us can remember the name of the first person we kissed. I can't believe anyone could forget the name Arkayla. The average golfer spends £2,000 a year on their hobby. No wonder, with so little money left over, they have to steal their clothes from the bins behind the circus. It's a joke about golfers dressing like pimps. And, according to research, the average household eats 8.4 kilograms of sausages a year. Surely that's bollocks. And, of course, lips and arseholes and eyelids. But mainly bollocks. Did you know, for example, English people moan for 100 minutes a day, a unit of time known as an EastEnders omnibus? According to a recent survey, Bombay is the rudest city in the world because it sounds like Bombay. And why isn't Bangkok on that list? And the film with the most swear words is Sex in the City. Well, it was when I fucking watched it. Did you know, for example, 45% of couples would like to be more adventurous in the bedroom? You might like to try lights on, socks off. 62% of people believe in fate. I suppose if you don't believe in fate, that's just the way it was meant to be. More germs are transferred when shaking hands than kissing. So, don't touch it, love. And 58% of women think chocolate is the biggest temptation on a diet, whereas actually it's the temptation to buy leggings, which are clearly 2 sizes too small. Did you know, for example, 47% of people believe in life after death? That's pretty bad, because not only will they be dead, they'll be disappointed. 8% of people have tried more than 10 sexual positions. Let's see, missionary, doggy, reverse cowgirl, Cuban cradle, sloppy Joe, sloppy Jane, bullhorn, dry hump, asphyxie bag, sniper. Yep, I've tried 2. The British Library acquires 3 million new books every year, but they like to keep it quiet. And 50% of men would make their penis bigger if they could. You can, just rub it or think about something sexy. Did you know, for example, 15% of people say if their remote control broke, they would continue watching the same channel. Hello? 10% of women have cried in a dressing room. I guess they weren't expecting to see me in there. According to a recent survey, all that's required to maximise happiness is 1 sexual partner annually. I said annually. And 20% of men claim that they can do DIY better than any professional. £5,000 for eye surgery? Come here, you. Did you know, for example, 9% of people say darkness is their biggest fear, but for members of the BNP, that rises to 100%. Between 500 and 1,000 baby tarantulas hatch from a single cocoon is one of the creepiest things you can whisper to your girlfriend during sex. King cobras can deliver enough venom to kill 10 people. Right, Jeremy Kyle, Piers Morgan, my girlfriend's mum, my girlfriend's dad, my girlfriend, Nick Griffin, Osama bin Laden, Anton Debek and Lulu. I know that's only 9, but I'd kill Jeremy Kyle twice just to make sure. And one of the biggest fears is the unknown, like, I know. Did you know, for example, Hawaii is moving towards Japan at the rate of 4 inches every year, but whenever Japan turns round, Hawaii stops and pretends to be looking in a shop window. Only 47% of children can correctly identify a barn owl, although that rises significantly if it's nighttime and they're in a barn. And an American sex scientist has done a study to find the perfect female orgasm. He claims to be an expert in that area, but if he's such an expert, he should stop calling it that area. Did you know, for example, 90% of people think that Christmas is too commercialised, and there's a special name for those people, tight-fisted twats. If you're watching, children, I don't want to spoil Christmas for you, but not only is Santa made up, so's Jesus. And your dog didn't go and live on a farm. And it takes up to 15 years to grow a 6-foot Christmas tree, but just 30 seconds to lob it over the fence into your neighbour's garden on January 6th. Did you know, for example, 54% of blokes would tell a friend if they smelt bad? Sorry, mate, but I need to tell you something. I smell bad. 23% of women over 60 have had a one-night stand, and 40% have one nightstand. Because their husband is dead. Not my fault, I didn't kill him. And in Britain, the highest concentration of ghost sightings is in Derby. Pale, shambling figures with soulless dead eyes and scary faces. The people of Derby see an awful lot of ghosts. Did you know, for example, kissing someone for a minute burns 2.6 calories? You know what? Paolo says he's a personal trainer, but I'm starting to think he's just making it up as he goes along. 48% of businesses have banned their staff from using Facebook and Twitter. Sounds reasonable, but it's a nightmare for everyone who works at Facebook and Twitter. And, according to a poll, 35 is too old to wear a miniskirt. That is sexist nonsense. 35 is fine to wear a miniskirt, but 36, Jesus wept. The only thing covering those legs should be a coffin. Did you know, for example, on average, British men spend £1,412 on an engagement ring? They would have spent less, but the grabby metal crane game at the fun fair kept losing its grip. 33% of Brits think Mount Everest is in Europe, which I'm guessing means it isn't. Bloody idiots. And 1 in 5 Brits has sent a racy text message to the wrong person. I once wrote an explicit text to my girlfriend's mum, but somehow I sent it to my girlfriend by mistake. Did you know, for example, 9% of men have beeped their car horn at a girl in the street? Well, they're not called hooters for nothing. 23% of English men are overweight, and that 23% is hanging over their belt. And according to a survey, reading Mills and Boon books ruins your love life. Not true. You don't need to put the book down, love. I can work around it. Did you know, for example, 1 in 10 Scandinavians is conceived in an IKEA bed? How it works is their parents insert flap A into slot B and screw until the nuts tighten. 20% of Americans think the sun orbits the Earth. Sounds bad until you realise the other 80% think it's towed across the sky by Jesus in a chariot. 33% of Brits keep a weapon in their home. I keep mine in my trousers. Right, ladies? It's a Stanley knife. Did you know, for example, in the United Kingdom, 3 million people regularly play bingo? 2 fat ladies and another 2,900,998 fat ladies. 70% of men say they can burp on demand. Seriously, fellas, there is no demand. And 41% of Brits have had sex in their car. I tried that once. It was surprisingly romantic. I was really taking my time, putting her needs first for once, and then the lights changed and we had to pull away. Did you know, for example, 1 in 5 Brits has sent a text whilst driving? I'm not condoning it, but we've all done things we regret when we're drunk. 1 in 4 British potatoes are made into chips, as are 2 of the other 3. And the other one. Chips. And 1 in 5 doctors has been attacked by a patient Yeah? Well, perhaps 1 in 5 doctors shouldn't use gel from the fridge when checking 1 in 5 patients' prostate.